Welcome to this week's edition of Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned, where we explore the edge of leadership, business, and becoming from the inside out. Today, you're about to experience a conversation that's not only redefining what it means to be a successful entrepreneur, it's reprogramming the system altogether. I'm joined by the trailblazing leadership trio behind an incredible business, Soul Soothing Co. Christiane Witt, who did not come on the podcast but shared her energy from Germany. She's the visionary, Cerice Berndsen, the framework alchemist, and Leah Hielsberg, the tech whisperer. Together, these women are dismantling the hustle or fail narrative and building businesses that feel like sanctuaries rather than battlegrounds. And they're focused on groundbreaking methods to help scale with profit and peace around leveraging AI and all that is possible with this technology. Today, we dove into and are diving into how AI can become the great equalizer in entrepreneurship, not to replace us, but to amplify our genius. Buckle up. This episode will leave you feeling seen, soothed, and so ready to create your version of success, one that honors your nervous system, unlocks your true power, and finds ways to pivot with all that is possible. So excited to be joined by these powerhouse business owners and to hear the stories today as they unfold. So, the first question I have for you is your business model really is like nothing I've ever seen. So, what was the moment you knew that this way of working needed to exist? And also walk us through the pivot that you've gone through recently.
So we have, as a partnership, been together for what is it now, Leah? Like 4, 5 years?
I
Not
think almost 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's been a long
started
time.
yeah, we started in an agency together. That's where we all met. And we when we started our own business, we started out, with software as a service and also business coaching. And we started out actually in the horse industry. We're all three of us are equestrians, lifelong. We've all trained horses, rode horses, and that's a big part of our passion. And in 2020, when ChatGPT first launched, we were still working in the agency, right?
Mm.
And it became very clear to us that this was going to change the way humans worked. And also that it was going to make human connection actually more important.
Mm.
And while there is still the potential of like humans being replaced, that's going to drive that need for amplifying humanity, amplifying the soul of the business, and the people that make business possible, right? We don't want to replace people, make it so that everyone struggles to live or to do their job well and only a select few rise to the top. But there's a massive amount of opportunity that comes with AI when it is implemented ethically.
Hmm. Yeah. What, in the beginning, aside from your passion for the equestrian business, what brought the three of you together? What was it about your connection that really took you down this path of entrepreneurship together? Because that's a journey in itself alone, but to come across the globe with a passion that you've talked about, but what else was cementing that real desire to do this journey together?
I think that we also span across 3 generations, so not just global.
Yeah, we're gonna
We have
talk
3
about that.
generations. Yeah, which is super cool, but the 3 of us, when we work together in the agency, just gelled so well and have similar values, like the same working values of we work hard, but we don't burn ourselves out. We wanna take the time and the space to, enjoy life, right? Have a good balance, but that doesn't mean that we just sit around and wait for things to happen. Like all of us are A players, right? We work really hard. We love our job. Like that was super important is that the three of us are so passionate about what we do. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us. You know, we just loved each other so much that we're like, why wouldn't we do this together? And
Mm.
honestly, I would not do this without Cerice and Christiana.
That deep alignment, that
Yeah,
values piece, we don't talk about it enough in business. It really is that foundational requirement for building anything together, teams,
right.
businesses. So let's go to the 3 generations. So you span 3 generations, and we span the globe. So Christiana, who isn't with us today, is from Germany.
Mhm.
Cerice and Leah live in the US, but on different parts of the state. And so, that would have its own unique opportunities and challenges, and you span 3 generations. So what has that done to shape your leadership and collaboration style? Walk us through that.
One of the things that is so cool about the horse industry, which is something that we're all so familiar with, is age doesn't matter. Age
So
is
true.
completely irrelevant in the horse industry, and because of that, it's very easy for us, like, I'm second generation horsewoman. I grew up in it. And so most of my friends were significantly older than me, or, we like it just made it very easy to collaborate, and um, we all have a diverse array of experiences and strengths, and we know how to work very well with those, and so I think that just made it effortless. It's second nature to us to work that way, and, for example, Leah, who's the youngest of us, has a fresh perspective on technology and younger generations. I'm smack in the middle, and Christiana is older and has a ton of wisdom and experience, both as, a leader and having worked with, our ideal clients and market for so long. And it works.
It's interesting because I feel like we're at such a unique crossroads in business where, I've been in business for 35 years, and I see right now being like the last, let's call it decade, where the merging of different generations is actually bringing so much power. Whereas it was always, you had the older generations had the wisdom, and the younger were supposed to learn from them. I cannot believe how many times I wanna go to the younger generation for my own wisdom and learning. So we've really, like, I can see that you've blended that into your business in such a powerful way to be able to do that. So for you, one of the old paradigms that exists for all of us, is that hustle or fail. And I know it's something that you really love to talk about. What moment did you feel that old paradigm sort of crack open for you personally? Maybe speak to it, both of you, in your unique voice.
I experienced it a few different times and in a few different scenarios before I was like, this is not for me. um, One of the times being in the horse industry when I was working in it's a very much a hustle or you're out of business culture, and you kind of wear that as a badge of honor that you work your butt off 24/7. And that I watched a lot of people struggle through that, and I'm like, "That's just not like, I wanna," like I mentioned before, like, enjoy what I'm working for and what I'm doing and have a balance, and have not carry, like, a feeling of burnout 24/7. Um, I experienced it in the corporate, world when I entered corporate, out of college. Um and just saw how slow it can be to rise right through the corporate ladder, and that no matter how hard you work, sometimes it just is, well, you haven't worked here for 25 years, so sorry. You're not going to be up for that promotion. And then in our agency, that we all worked at together, agency can be really hustle culture-y, like, 24/7 working for the client. My phone would ring at night. I would feel like I had to pick it up, or I had to text the client back, or I had to respond to that email. And the anxiety that it drove into me became just problematic. I wanted to have a glass of wine every night. I couldn't turn off the work and like relax, especially working from home. If you are in your house all day, you're in your office, right? Like you're in your workspace. And so you feel like you have to keep working because you're sitting in your workspace. Um, and so that was letting go of that and, talking about the 3 generations, and my mentorship with Christiane and Cerice has been invaluable because they have taught me this, like, self-growth and, like, letting go of this hustle mentality that I have to live in burnout 24/7, and that just is not the case, and it's actually worse for you. My creativity goes down, my ability to go into deep focus goes down. I just am putting out fires, and that's just not a sustainable way to live.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing perspective. Thank you. Cerise, what about your perspective?
Yeah, so I had the blessing of being forced to slow down, like Leah said, in the horse industry, because that was my first career. I was a horse trainer and riding instructor, and it was just go, 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 go. And then I also have autoimmune issues, and my body just forced me to slow down. I had to learn to respect the rhythm that my body allowed me to work in,
Mm,
and stress is a huge trigger for me, especially for autoimmune flares, and, so I came to the realization in my early 30s that if I didn't find a different way to live, I was just going to be sick all the time, unable to get out of bed. So that was one of the first big
mhm.
things, and then, as it is with youth, it takes you a while to, like, kind of let those lessons sink in, and in the agency, again, like Leah was saying, working from home because that's where, the agency was, again, fully remote, but being on demand 24/7 and having that hard work pays off mentality means that, like, you want to keep working because it
Mm,
is rewarding, but then your nervous system never shuts off, and so really internally digesting those lessons about self-care, slowing down, finding, and of course in life, it's impossible to have balance all the time,
mhm,
but learning how to rebalance and breathe
mhm.
and have your work pace support your life rather than your life supporting your work.
So beautifully said. And I share the story of it took an autoimmune to get me to really pay attention to this hustle or fail that, I'm a big believer and we talk a lot in our community about the things that can coexist. And so we have moments where we may need to be more ambitious or driven in something. And it's also a beautiful part of what can coexist is that we can slow down at times. And I love what you said, breathe. We
Mhm.
just need to breathe more. Like, we just need to breathe more. Oh, I think if all leaders could just pause and recognize how many times did you hold your breath today?
Mhm.
If we could just focus on that, can you imagine how the world of business could change? And every time that you catch yourself doing that, you pause and breathe. Oh, we would just that we would change the world. Okay, let's move into AI. I am a huge. I love your business model. I love how you're combining this ability to talk about soul soothing and soul led and that part of the hustle or fail culture. We need to get rid of those lies and moving into a new area that's vital. I actually named my chat gpt. We became such good friends, so
Mhm.
let's go. Let's you believe AI is the great equalizer in entrepreneurship. I'm with you on that. How does that vision play out practically with the business owners and founders and people that you're working with?
So the big opportunity here is that, and of course it's so new. It's changing daily, honestly. But it allows you to start to collect yourself and think more strategically, and it goes so much more beyond just using AI for copywriting, right? It can be a strategic thought partner. It can help you with processes and documenting your business. It can help you explore new visions for visionaries. And it can help solve really complex problems by allowing you to research information faster, um, synthesize ideas faster, be a reflective thought partner. And the biggest thing is that smaller organizations have the agility now to adopt early, while bigger corporations have these kind of, slumbering giant mentalities, and it takes, 15 different meetings and, board consensus to get something passed and adopted, and then team buy-in and, all of the challenges that come with that, and then adoption, right?
Mm,
And so right now, there's this incredible window of opportunity for agile businesses that want to do good in the world, that want to elevate people, that want to help the planet, that want to, support social causes, make a huge difference, move faster, more accurately, and, scale their vision and voice much further than it's ever been possible and still stay small and agile.
mm. So many golden nuggets in there. Like you said, 2 or 3 really profound things that we're gonna have to pull out after the show. I love the vision and the voice piece of really, I really notice that women founders in particular struggle with that piece, so, I can see that being really powerful for them. I think when I look at corporate, my husband is a leader in the corporate space still, and so that point of they can't be agile in this. There's so much governance
Mhm,
for the corporations, and I hadn't actually thought about that till you just said it. Now, as business owners and founders, there's a real opportunity here for that agility, and yet I see so much fear. Fear of it, the big talk, "It's gonna replace me," instead of that sort of curiosity about how do we move forward with it. I see so much fear. And so how are you helping reframe that fear? Or help us right now reframe that
mhm.
fear? Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
or go ahead, Leah.
I'm gonna throw in my thoughts here and then I'll let you take over, Cerise. I think a lot of that fear comes from overwhelm, of all of these. It is changing rapidly. There are tools being put in front of our faces every day of it can do this, it can do this, it can do this. And so finding a sustainable way to use AI where we're not replacing what people are doing in their jobs. We're not taking away the humans in the workspace, but we're actually making their jobs easier, making their jobs more enjoyable, making it easier for them to be more productive, to you know, to in they could get done in 4 hours instead of 8. And we reward that instead of punishing that and saying, well, here's more work for you to do. So it's not about I'm gonna create these agentic workflows that, ChatGPT does X, Y, and Z and there's no human interaction at all because that's not even at this point something that works, right? Like people can say all they want about, oh, make.com, you can do all this N8N. They're great and but when they break, they break. And you need a person who's going to then go fix that and be the fire putter outer when those things fall apart. So our biggest focus is sustainable use of AI and how we can use it to make life easier for us as the founders and then also for our employees and how we can make them, we say our Monday morning test is our biggest metric that we follow, and that's are we excited to show up to work on Monday morning?
Mhm.
And that is, I was just on vacation for a week and I jumped on our Monday morning call because I wanted to, and I'm like, listen, we're passing the test. I'm already excited to come back next week. Like I'm ready to get back to work
That's
because
awesome.
enjoy what I'm doing, right? And
Yeah.
AI has been a huge part of that because it takes away some of the stressful things that we have to do in our daily work, some of the things like the brainstorming that gets difficult, that gets challenging, that gets frustrating, and, you know, helps just improve quality.
Mhm. Mhm. Cerise, did you wanna jump in from there?
Yeah, so, I have the benefit of the lived experience of the invention of the cell phone.
Me too.
Yes, which
And I worked in technology.
yeah, and so Leah was born with them, and so it just makes sense to have cell phone, right?
Yes.
But, um, those of us that, and of course I was a kid at that time, but anybody at that point in time that said, "Well, I'm never gonna have a cell phone," what happened? You probably don't have a landline anymore, at least not in your home. You might, but it was inevitable.
Mm.
And AI is the most inevitable technology. It's not going back in the box now that it's out, but it is way less intimidating than a lot of people anticipate it being, and yes, there are gonna be those people that are gonna be like, "Well, I'm never gonna use AI," and really dig their heels in, and that's fine. And, for people like that, there's probably 5 years, 3 to 5 years before it really starts to impact businesses in a
Mhm.
huge way. Um, but there's so much opportunity, and it doesn't have to be scary or intimidating, especially with the large language models, which is what we advocate for.
Mhm.
Um, and once you understand how to use it, how to be critical of it, because it is not perfect and it is not infallible. And I won't say that it never will be, but from the human perspective, there's a lot of context that it does not have and it will never be able to understand. But what it does is it allows you to be an even better version of you in whatever role you have. That's not to say 10, 15 years from now, some of these roles aren't going to exist. But there's an opportunity now to elevate yourself and take advantage of something, cutting edge technology that we will probably never see advances like this again in our lifetime.
Mm.
We might, because AI might explode it, but it's a little bit of a mindset shift.
Mhm.
And, you know, for those that are willing to go there, the opportunity is way bigger than the risk,
Mhm.
you know? The more, and it's so easy to learn and adopt because it can basically tell you how to run it.
Yeah.
And so it makes you more valuable the sooner you adopt it, the more you play with it, the more comfortable you get with it.
Mm. Beautifully said. I can remember implicitly being a young child, and I guess I was a teenager, and the like computers were shifting from being these big boxes in a room that I remember even we were learning ones and zeros when I was in high school. It's like, what am I ever going to do with this? But a little bit, yeah. So it was just beyond that. And my dad was learning to use the keyboard. And I remember he played the game where the letters would drop and he
Mhm.
had to hit the keyboard. And he would sit like night after night doing this. And I like, what are you doing? And he said, I have to learn this new technology
Mhm.
or I will be left behind. And fast forward to today, I mean, we've been then through cell phones, we've been through really the internet hardly was a thing when I started in business. We didn't use it very often. And I was in technology, which I think is so interesting. And now this new, pretty big shift in how we do business. And my dad's the first one to say, "Oh, I think this is not going to be good." I'm like, "Dad, remember that you did
Mm.
that so that you could stay ahead of the curve." And so, I think for some people, it's also just sitting back and realizing we have been through lots of changes in the last few generations and look at how they've amplified things. So we create something new at the end of this. I'm really curious some surprising ways maybe or unique ways that you have seen integrating AI inside of businesses that support this whole soul aligned growth.
I think one of the biggest things for me is um, being able to use it as a thought partner for
Mm.
difficult scenarios.
Mm,
And, you know, like going into a situation and, say having a client be really frustrated or, belligerent about a change that they want or something that's outside of what you offer, and being able to use it as a thought partner to, A, first of all, understand their perspective,
Mhm.
and empathize with them, because of course, we all are human and we have emotions first, and AI does not have emotions. Um, be able to think it through, get feedback on your thoughts, adjust accordingly, and then make a decision on how to handle something and execute on it and help it right, follow up or give you assets to deliver based on that, fully customized to the situation.
Mhm. Incredible. And so how would you explain how people receive that? Like, what's the experience on the for you, the client side? Have you got people coming to you and saying, "We're so excited, help us," or is it more trepidation, "Help us," or both?
Right now, go ahead.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think it's more excitement, more again, overwhelmed, like, they're like, "I don't know where to start here," and so we talked about, we teach to use the LLMs in a way that is it's not gonna break, it's not an agentic automation that is gonna break, like, this is a powerful, powerful tool that then can be distributed to your team, to your to the leadership team, to across the entire company to be used by everyone,
Mhm,
to benefit everyone, and so that is less intimidating, I think, than saying, "Let's rebuild your entire company using only AI tools that are going and you're just gonna run everything off of AI." So, that I think helps with the overwhelm of and the fear factor of implementing AI into their business and gives them a little bit more of that excitement of like, "Okay, this is actually gonna be really cool for me to have and for my team to have," and seeing the potential of how they can amplify everything in their business using the tool.
mhm. Incredible. So one of the things that you have shared with me is this was a pivot for you. So for you specifically, there was a moment in time where you decided to pivot into the importance of integrating AI. So talk to us about that pivot because I think even the pivot that you chose is helpful for other people to understand how they can look at even reaching out to you and implementing that type of pivot internally, not maybe their full business model, but how to integrate it. So tell us about your own pivot.
So when we started out with Soul Soothing Business, we've been coaching business coaches for, several years, Christiana for decades, but our company has been together for several years as a coaching company, helping, business owners understand all of the facets of business, from organizing ideas and starting up to finding your ideal client, developing offers, marketing materials, all the way through to delivery.
Mhm.
And we have been using AI ourselves um, since ChatGPT was first launched.
Mm,
And that became more and more what we were teaching people to do and teaching them how to use it the way we were using it. And we came to the realization, kind of, what was it, around January, that
Mhm,
the economy, first of all, was so unstable at that period in time that selling online business coaching became a challenge, especially for solopreneurs. And we had the opportunity to take what we were doing internally with AI and teach that and then implement it for businesses and help amplify their missions in a really powerful way. We started out staying focused in the female market because, as three female founders,
mhm,
that's a huge part of our heart. But realized that we were probably playing it a little bit too small and too niched down. Um, and we had the opportunity in front of us, uh, mid development of our new brand, to expand the market and expand our impact and help counteract some of the negativity and
mm,
toxicity that we are seeing and feeling in the world by helping mission led, purpose-built businesses and organizations expand their impact. And that became a huge opportunity for us.
Mm. Yeah. I think another piece of the pivot, we talked about that we've used AI since ChatGPT started, and when you're in it that deep, you don't realize how at the front of the gate you are. And so we are teaching over and over again our existing clients how we're using AI, and they're like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. And finally we're like, why, like, why aren't we doing this for everyone? We should be, we are at the front of this in a lot of ways, and are really comfortable and confident with our use of AI. And so it just became like the right next step. It felt so aligned to move into that direction.
And you caught it. So many
Mhm.
founders are out there doing something similar, not with AI, but, sharing their passion in an incredible way, and that's the thing that's making a difference, but they're over here trying to do something else. So I think even hearing how you pivoted and how you paid attention to those, ahas that were in front of you, that deep alignment piece, which is so important. So that's really powerful. You mentioned something, Cerice, earlier about nervous system.
Mm.
And so let's pivot to nervous system. Now we'll pivot again. Um, Most people don't link nervous system work to the growth and development of their business. I believe that a business has its own nervous system. So why is this connection so vital to you?
I mean, it's so frustrating to see, you know, the corporate thought process being that, everybody's obligation is to the financial growth of a corporation, right? It's the well-being of the corporation, but businesses are ecosystems that can only exist because of the people that are within it. And the people that are within it have been treated, since the, Iron Age, basically, as cogs in a machine
Mm,
rather than as living organisms within an ecosystem.
mm,
An ecosystem can only be healthy when all of the supporting elements within that ecosystem are healthy. And so the biggest issues within corporations are burnout, are,
mm,
you know, bringing in the wrong people that seem really great, or bringing in the right people that are then picking up the slack for the wrong people, or reacting to, you know, slightly or aggressively toxic leadership that isn't respecting them as human beings and is only thinking about the corporate benefit. And in the long run, that is, you know, making the corporation suffer because they're losing top talent. It's expensive to replace people. People put out the least quality effort when they're unhappy, burned out, feeling, like a tool rather than, a thriving part of ecosystem. And we believe that by treating humans with humanity inside of a business, the business thrives, the people thrive, and it's a more intelligent way of doing business.
mm, mhm. It is for sure. Leah, do you have anything to add to that? I just think the nervous system is so vital for people to start understanding and talking about. It's
For
vital.
sure. I think for the three of us, it's a very natural thing to talk about, to recognize, because we've worked with horses so much in our lives, and they are they're just, if their nervous system's not regulated, it's disastrous, right? Like, it does a
Mm,
thing, that's when things go really wrong, and you don't want to experience that. And so they are kind of the mirror of ourselves, of like, they're flight animals. And so we, that same exact feeling of being burnt out and not wanting to, like, having that flight, like, okay, I can't be on my computer anymore, I can't do this, or being triggered by a client sending you an email at 9 o'clock at night that they're pissed off about something, right? Like, those types of things that trigger you, and being able to regulate yourself, right? Because you can't control what other people are going to do. You can't control what your boss is going to say to you in the morning. You can't control what the client is going to do. You those things are out of your hands. But being able to not let yourself get triggered by that, being able to respond with empathy, being able to like take a deep breath and say, okay, this person is having a bad day, and this is just how it came across. And those, for me, as I'm in my late 20s now, but I've been working with Cerice and Christiana for, since my early 20s. So learning how to manage myself and my nervous system has been huge. I think I've come a long way. Not that I was bad in the beginning, but but in being able to not let yourself get burned out, triggered by what others do, and that you have to manage yourself, basically.
Hmm. When do you notice, or what are some signs? You both kind of mentioned a couple, but what are some signs for a leader that their nervous system is out of balance
Hmm.
or out of alignment? I
I
always
mean,
word.
For me specifically, I can't be at my desk anymore. Like, I'm like, I when I get overwhelmed or when I feel like I'm out of alignment, I go into kind of a paralysis. I do one of two things. I either go into paralysis or I go into firefighter mode. And so they're two different responses. It really just depends on what's happening and what's triggering the response itself. But um I'll go find a kitchen to clean, or I'll go find anything else to do if I'm feeling it,
Got
like
one for you.
yeah, exactly. I'll go vacuum for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Um, or I'll feel like I have to panic and, like, jump on the response immediately, right? Like, if I get an email that's like, "Oh my god, I have to fix this right now," and oftentimes that's when I need to actually walk away and be like, "Okay, take a deep breath from this. Don't just have an immediate reaction." Um, so for me, those are, and I think they're both triggered by anxiety and, like, deregulation, exactly like we were talking about, deregulation of my nervous system, that my anxiety has taken over and I've gone into this fight or flight mode.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, so, I mean, and Leah has some great coping mechanisms that are very productive in, like, cleaning the house.
Yes.
Um, but the nervous system responds in one of 5 ways, right? It's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, no, maybe it's only 4, or my brain is forgetting, and we'll call that 5. Um,
Forgetting.
yeah.
It's the
Um,
new F.
yeah, so, basically, flight, like, you avoid things, avoidant behaviors, right? Fight, you're gonna start getting snippier, you're gonna, get more aggressive, more confrontational, you're gonna and it could be towards other people, it could be towards the work, you could dig in harder and just try and force things to work.
Mhm.
Um, it could be at home. You could be getting crankier at home because you have to keep it bottled up at work. Um, you know, so fight, flight, freeze. You could just be paralyzed and not be able to do anything. You find yourself scrolling all the time, or, walking away from your desk and going and doing something else, or just shutting down completely. And fawn is that people pleasing, like trying to avoid any type of confrontation, overly jumping in, being that, people pleaser. And I think a lot of women get into that, because we've been, culturally conditioned to be people pleasers,
Mhm.
um, and trying to prevent any type of situation from happening before it does, or, sacrificing yourself to smooth things out, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and just recognizing that that means our nervous system is
Mhm.
out of harmony, right? So those are great signs. That's where I use ChatGPT.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
Like we're all business coaches. Come from that lane. What I find really interesting is, and I think you said it, the coaching industry is going through a massive shift right now.
Mhm.
Coaching, consulting, all of that. People haven't found maybe the success they desire in working with potentially coaches that didn't have their own nervous systems balanced. So we're really seeing such a shift there. And I've been surprised at how I've been leveraging ChatGPT from a coaching perspective.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's a really good thought leader, as you said. It's a really good partner in that perspective. And sometimes, again, again, we've got great coaches on this call, so, I want to amplify that, we come at things, I think, from a very different perspective, and that's people need different perspective
Mhm.
that ChatGPT can't necessarily give, but then there's those moments where you need the quiet and you don't really need another person's voice in there with you, and you can jump in the arena with chat and really sort through some things. So
Mhm.
I highly encourage that. um
Yeah.
Even having it help you unpack the feeling that you're having, right? Like there's a lot of times where it's
yes.
like I'm like my hands are shaking, my throat's tight, like, but I don't know why. Like what was the thing here that caused this? And so to unpack some of those emotions and the feelings that you're having with ChatGPT, that's where I found it incredibly helpful, both with work and in my personal life too. It's like I need to understand what happened here and why this is happening so that then moving forward I can recognize that and work on it, right? Like to actually make a change in that. So that's been incredibly helpful.
There is a little bit of a caution that needs to be taken when you do this with ChatGPT, though, and I think everybody listening needs to be aware of that, is that, and I haven't had since ChatGPT 5 has been released, I haven't played around with it in that, you know, context yet, but AI has been programmed to be very people pleasing. And I've
Mhm.
even had the conversation with ChatGPT because I'm always thinking from like a marketing and strategy perspective. I asked it specifically, have you been developed to be sticky to the user? And the answer is yes. And so it tends to be very affirming of your beliefs. It wants you to engage with it, and it's been programmed to keep people using it or coming back to it.
Mhm.
It can also take you on side quests.
Mhm.
So if you have it takes a good deal of self-knowledge and self-sovereignty
Mhm.
to direct it and not get caught up in it telling you, "You're the greatest person I've ever met." Like, "Oh my gosh, you're so brilliant." Yes, every idea that you have is great. So you need to actually tell it to think strategically, to think critically, to
Mhm.
challenge you. And if you're the type of person that doesn't like to be challenged, that can be problematic because you can go down that road of ChatGPT building you up in maybe not the healthiest way. So it
For
does
sure.
take some caution
Mhm.
and awareness of what's happening, a
I
little
love
bit
the
of
word
a double.
sovereignty, like the
Yeah,
sovereignty piece, I
sovereignty.
think that's vital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm constantly saying to it, "Sounds like you're trying to please me. Could you please
Mhm.
Yes.
challenge where I'm not thinking
Yep.
correctly on this? I actually want to know."
Yep.
And I think also just being really mindful of those dopamine hits on
Mhm.
Mhm.
anything that we have in our lives that can give us that false sense of dopamine that isn't helpful to our nervous systems long term either, right?
Mhm.
So thank you for flagging that. I think that's so important. What would you say surprised you most about what has been possible when you see people lead from this soul place instead of survival? What are some things that you've noticed that have really surprised you?
That's a really good question.
Yeah. I think the trickle down effect that it has on your employees who work for you and how much happier and the trust that's built rather than them working out of fear or working out of from a place of anxiety like that. If you truly work from this soul led place, your the rest of your business will feel that and will embrace that too. So that to me has been the most, yeah, I mean, not maybe not surprising, but the most heartwarming because that's
Mm.
what I want to see happen,
Leah,
is
when you
that
said that
employees are
Monday
happier.
morning test,
Yeah.
never heard it said that way. And, I know back in the corporate world I can specifically think of 1, maybe 2 moments where going up that elevator on a Monday morning, I was already having, like, trouble breathing on the Sunday night,
Yeah,
thinking about having to go into that environment, and then riding up the elevator, just, like, really catching myself not being able to actually catch my breath, so that is powerful, that Monday morning
mhm,
test. I think that in alone is about the survival and the safety. Yeah.
exactly.
The other really cool thing is, so yes, it makes your team more cohesive. It builds trust. And that's something that comes, I think, to me, Leah and Christiana, second nature from working with horses, because, from an ethical standpoint of working with horses, you cannot get good results safely with a horse that is stressed and feeling combative or afraid of being persecuted, and that humans are exactly the same. And we just learned those skills with a nonverbal partner that can seriously injure or kill you. Um, but the other huge thing is that it also impacts your clients. We all can feel energy. It's not woo-woo. We can all tell, like, somebody's got good vibes, somebody's got bad vibes. And when you make your clients, when your entire team feels safe and regulated and enjoying what they do, your clients feel it. And they want to be around that, unless they're really unhealed people, and then maybe you don't wanna be around them. um, they stick longer. They wanna
Mhm.
keep working with you because it feels good, it feels safe, and when people feel safe, they just do better and more and can grow and expand, and how is that not good for your business?
Mm, absolutely. Woo, that's it. There it is. There it is. Okay, I wanna just briefly touch on, women in leadership and entrepreneurship, because I know this is a passion of yours even though you serve men and women and everybody across the board, but 40% of US enterprises, so I'm over here in Canada, but I know you guys are in the US, so 40% of US enterprises are women-owned, but only 6.2% of revenue is generated by them. Wow. 40% of US enterprises are women owned, but only 6.2% of revenue is generated by them. And I see this everywhere. And are we changing the story? Yes, but baby, 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 baby steps.
Mhm.
So how are we changing this? How are women-owned businesses like yours and mine? How do we change the story? How are you working on that?
I I think for us, and it's really embracing the tools that we have in front of us and not being afraid to jump in the ring with the men, and keep up and stay right next to them and stand in our authority with it, like that, and letting the tools help us stand in our authority with it. Um, we have to let go of this, like, shyness of that the men are more successful, like that, like, let's let's join them if we like, let's be neck and neck with them in this race of AI, and to building our businesses using AI.
Mhm.
It's it's a fascinating time to be alive, because the conversation is shifting a little bit. Older generations that had that narrative that women were homemakers, that they were support roles rather than team members side by side, is starting to die out. Hasn't
Mhm.
completely
Mhm.
died out, and I think we have a long way to go. But women have gotten a lot better at setting boundaries. And I think one of the biggest things is that we need to support each other,
Mhm.
lift each other
Mhm.
up in business, use our wisdom, because that's one of the things that women, I think, do exceptionally well. We think and strategize in a different way than men do, because men can use assertiveness, aggressiveness,
Mhm.
and push things through, whereas we have to be more strategic. And it has never been an easier time to leverage that. And also use tools and technology to support yourself outside of work so that you can show up and meet your goals and your ambition and have the accomplishments that you want to have, whatever they are.
Mhm. So if you could help women founders, leaders to have one belief system they anchored into with the times that we're in right now, what would that belief system be that you wanted to anchor them into?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, it's an old saying, but whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's that has always served me well.
Mhm.
And it takes a mindset of believing in yourself and seeing that, you're not the only person that has had dreams and goals and visions. And if somebody else could succeed, why can't you?
Mhm. Mm, incredible. It's timeless.
Mhm.
It's timeless, and the tools available to lean into that now are
Mhm.
so unique and really kinda which I think is part of your pivot. They remove whether you're a woman or a man or
Mhm.
you've had 30 years of experience or 5. They can we've equalized the playing field, based on some new tools and AI and all the things available to us. So, this has been a really impactful conversation. I really adore the work that you are doing, and the pivot that you made, I think, is so necessary and powerful right now. And so, all of our listeners, find the organization we find you at, stillsoulsoothingbusiness.com.
Soultimesai.biz.
Okay, soultimesai.biz, and, just lean into the power of what's possible. And if there's one thing you'd like to leave our listeners with, each of you, what would that be?
Mm. Mine coming from the tech side, uh, is I have it on my board behind me. Everything is figure outable. It's like my favorite saying, and that don't be afraid to use this tool, this opportunity that has been presented to us. Like find your way to use it and just lean into it and let it help you rise to what you can do.
Mm,
Um, I would say that with the help of AI, Claude, ChatGPT, uh, any of the other large language models, the value that you can deliver, the impact that you can have has never been greater, but ultimately it requires a new version of you to step into that.
Mm.
And if you're excited about that kind of transformation, this is your time to shine, and we would love to help anybody that feels that way.
ooh, so beautifully said. And thank you to both of you for being here today. Just appreciate all your perspectives and love the work you're doing in the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's been a
Yeah, thank you.
pleasure.
I don't know about you, but my nervous system feels soothed just from this conversation. Ah, what a beautiful opportunity to hear from and learn from Cerice and Leah, and of course, again, Christiana with her energy attached. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your mission, and your radical reimagining of what business can be. To all of you listening, if you've ever felt like the business world wasn't built for you, is because it really wasn't, not through the old paradigms, But that doesn't mean you have to change who you are. It means you change the model and you leverage the possibilities around you. And that's exactly what this trio is doing with the businesses and organizations that they work with. So head over to you can find in the show notes how to reach out to them and stay connected to this revolutionary movement. And if this episode lit something up in you, share it with a fellow founder. The more we normalize sustainable soul led success, the more we all rise together. Until next time, stay ambitious, awakened, and of course, aligned. And keep waking the F up to the business and life that has always been meant for you and is right there waiting.